Drinkbox are finally back after 4 years of a hiatus. Last game they released was Guacamelee 2, but now they're back with Nobody Saves the World. I absolutely love Drinkbox. I've played Guacamelee 1 and loved it. I never played 2, but my absolute favourite from them was Severed on the PS Vita. Yes, they were one of the only studios that developed an exclusive for the PS Vita, so we have to commend them for that. Unfortunately, the PS Vita is dead, so we'll never see it on that. But it is releasing on Xbox and on Game Pass and on PC. No Switch or PS4 yet, but I'm assuming it will come in the future. So here are my impressions of Nobody Saves the World on PC. I got a code for this, so thank you very much for that. So let's get on with the video. First thing we have to talk about is the art and music, because when it comes to Drinkbox games, they just stand out. They have their own unique visual style, and you just know it's a Drinkbox game. I'm playing this on my new PC, and obviously this won't take crazy specs to run, but I'm playing it at 1440p with HDR on, and it looks absolutely fantastic. The colours absolutely pop, and the art style in general is just super unique. It kind of reminds me of a late 90s, early 2000s Cartoon Network cartoon. It's quite colourful, but it has this somber tone, and it's pretty easy to see when you look at Nobody's eyes. So you play as Nobody, and you have to save the world. You're basically saving some wizard, blah blah blah. There's some calamity going on, you know, and you're going from one corner of the map to the next corner of the map. You know, you get the picture. But he has these weird looking eyes, and the game hasn't explained it yet. I'm assuming I will get an explanation later on. But I'm just really interested in why he has them eyes, because every single other character in the game has normal eyes. Now the visuals do stand out and the story sounds quite cliche, but where this stands out is the writing. All of Drinkbox's previous games have had great writing with really witty dialogue, and I loved every single second of it. And it's the exact same here. I go out of my way to talk to every NPC because they usually have something interesting to say, and if it's not interesting, it will be funny at the least. And even though the story is really cliche, it kind of flips things on its head. So I went into a cave and there was an NPC, and I went up and talked to him, and he was talking about treasure, and I was like, oh, that means there's probably treasure in this cave. And then I couldn't find it, so I went back and talked to him. He's like, wait, why are you still around here? Feck off, there's no treasure. And that only sounds like something small, but it happens really often, and it makes the writing really engaging. And on top of that, there's little interactions in quests when you're like a horse and you go talk to another horse and you can speak to them, and you end up falling in love with one. I just wasn't expecting it, and it just makes it fun. Like, that's the only word to call it. It's fun. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know I love action RPGs. Diablo, Torchlight, Borderlands, it doesn't matter what the style is. Once there's an engaging loop and a really fun progression, I'm in for it 100%. And I'm happy to say that Nobody Saves the World has me absolutely hooked. So looking at the gameplay, you just assume pretty basic action RPG. And it is, but how you progress is where it really hooks me in. So you start off as Nobody, who is absolutely useless. All he can do is punch. And then you unlock the rat, and you realise that the rat can attack, and you can also squeeze through small spaces. And from there, my imagination started to run wild, because there was a big tree with loads of unlockable characters, and I couldn't wait to see what they were. So each character has their own basic attack, and the basic attack generates mana. And then from there, you unlock active and passive skills, and the active skills use mana. So every time you attack with your basic attack, you generate mana, and then you can use your action skills. On top of that, the passive skills add things like, if you break a barrel, you might get 12 mana, or if you kill an enemy, you might consume 3% of the damage dealt in health. And it's all really cool because each character is unique. Like, say the knight is slow, but he deals heavy damage. The rat is fast and he deals poison, and he can also squeeze through small spaces. And my favourite was the horse because he moved really fast, which was great for traversal. But also his basic attack, he can only kick backwards. So you have to lock yourself in place and constantly have your back facing the enemy so you can kick them. And that's not the only unique one. There's like an egg that does nothing, except there's nests everywhere, and if you go into the nests, a bird comes down and sits on you, and you get like part of a quest complete. Like, I don't understand what's going on, but I'd really like to see what would happen if I got all 5 nests. So as I was saying, each ability has its own damage type. So one might be blunt, one might be sharp, one might be poison, blah blah blah. You get the picture. But where they become useful is that different enemies have shields that are weak to certain types. So let's say he's weak to poison. He has a little poison thing on top of his head. So then I change to the rat, and then I attack him, and then his shield drops, and then I can start attacking. And that sounds like a great idea, and it is, and it gets even better when you get into the builds. So eventually you unlock the ability to map skills from different characters onto other characters. So let's take the bodybuilder for example. All of his attacks do blunt damage, but you might be fighting and say you need to get rid of a poison shield. So you can attach the rat's passive ability where your attacks deal poison, or you can take one of his active abilities that deal poison too, and then you can use that as the bodybuilder to get rid of a shield. And the possibilities are limitless. There's a crazy amount of abilities and passives that you can map to other characters. And I just love this system so much. So as I was saying, the horse is my favourite, and all of his attacks did blunt damage, but you can equip him with, say, a poison and a sharp one, and then all of a sudden he's unstoppable. He's just running around kicking people and shooting arrows at them, and it's just amazing. The map is absolutely massive, and I actually think that it's potentially too big because I start to feel overwhelmed at times because there's loads of quests to do, and the main portion of the game is visiting dungeons and clearing them out, and they're all randomly generated, and you need to be the same level because if you go into a dungeon that's too high level, you'll get your arse handed to you. And my favourite thing about these dungeons is that they're all unique. Like, one was like the head of a pumpkin that I had to go in and save a pumpkin knight. And then there was another one that was like a UFO, and then there's one that's like a horse dungeon, and every single one of them just felt different. Yes, it's the same loop of running from floor to floor, clearing out enemies, fighting a boss at the end to get a chest, but it's a combat with all the different abilities and the great writing that just keep me coming back. So how you level up the characters is, say, you're given quests that will be like, kill 20 people with this ability, or kill 20 people with this type of damage. And that's quite easy, but eventually it gets quite difficult as you try to go up the ranks. And as you improve different characters, they unlock ones further in the tree, and it just keeps getting crazy, like mermaids and a magician that pulls animals out of his hats. Like, it's just very unique. And this is where my main issue is with the game. The menus look cool, and you're going to spend a lot of time in them, but I think they could have been done just slightly better. So every time you open up the quest menu and turn a quest in, it plays this animation, and at some points you could have 4 or 5 quests to turn in, and it could take you out of the game for like a minute. Now, that's only like a minor gripe, but I think everything in the menus could have been done slightly faster, just so that it didn't take you out of the game as much. You press LT on the controller to bring up the map, and every time you press it, there's like a delay of like a second or two before the map comes up. It's just little things like that that I think could be improved, but otherwise the game's fantastic. And now to wrap this all up, should you buy this game? I think yes. This game is absolutely brilliant. I love Drinkbox, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park here. Apparently the game is like 20 hours long, so there's plenty of content there, and it is on Game Pass, so you don't really have much to lose if you already have a subscription. But I would highly recommend you check this game out. So there's a quick impressions video on Nobody Saves the World. I would really like to know what you think about the game. The next video is going to be on Crysis Remastered Trilogy, and I filmed that before Christmas, so I'm going to have different hair. I got my hair cut, so I'm going to have a ponytail, and I don't think this cool light, my camera isn't very good, but the light is, it says Adzi Gaming on top, and then it's PlayStation symbols. I got it for Christmas. It's really cool. I'll probably pop a better picture up so you can actually see it. But I really appreciate you watching. Don't forget to subscribe and join the Discord down below, and I'll see you all on the next video.